This is Gary Boomer, visionary, strategist, and founder of BoomerConsulting, and your host for today's Boomer Briefing. We'd like to take 20 minutes or less and address a topic that is of importance to you and your firm. And today that topic is on visioning and strategic planning. And I have as my guest Bill Dunton, managing partner of Abacus CPAs, headquartered in St. Louis, I'll get this right, in Springfield, Missouri. And Bill, welcome to our program today.
Glad to be here, Gary. Always a pleasure to work with you on projects.
Well, it's always a pleasure to work with you. And one of the things I noticed on your website is, in addition to Abacus CPA, which is a little bit unusual, not the name of partners in a firm, we see that your tagline is better guidance, smarter decisions. I think that's a differentiator in and of itself. But you might start off by telling our audience a little bit about where you grew up, how you got interested in accounting and got into this profession.
Sure. Yeah, I grew up in a small town just outside of Bangor, Maine, Carmel, Maine, or if you're from California, that's called Carmel, right? We just
Yes.
So I grew up there. Don't really know what was the major driving force. Looking back at it, though, the only person in the generation before me that had graduated from college in our family was my uncle, and he was a CPA. So, that had been in our family. He had done well and was successful with a firm in Bangor, Maine. So I guess I was good with math. So, hey, let's go do accounting.
Well, that sounds like a good way to get started. And I have to tell you, I spent one of the coldest nights of my life in Bangor, Maine, after coming from Florida that day, where it was probably 85, 90 degrees. And I don't remember the exact temperature in Bangor that night, but it was in a January, February time frame, and it was extremely cold.
It can be really cold. Yes.
Well, tell us a little bit about your vision for your firm and your strategic planning process that you go through.
Sure. Well, the firm started in 98, and it really started around the vision of, I thought we could do better for people involved in this process than what we had done. And that really takes into account two different criteria. That's people are employees and people are clients. I felt like we could provide a better service, a better accounting service, a better tax process, a better just overall CPA service to the clients, as well as I thought we could provide a better work environment for our employees. So from there, we just took off trying to figure it out. And along the way, there was a few different things that really helped us with that. There was a gentleman that came to a breakfast meeting shortly after I started, and he talked about the Welch grid, which is something that Jack Welch had used on how to evaluate people. And I'm like, that's awesome. We need that. That is one of the things that you got to be careful. We can all be super people friendly and people oriented, but some people will take advantage of that scenario. So you got to balance that with good accountability, good direction, and good policies and procedures. So that really gave me the base to kind of start that. And then shortly thereafter, somewhere along the line, I came in contact with you, and we started doing the Boomer circles, and that really helped us get going and provide a lot of just structure and policies, procedures, and a good direction for us. And then I believe it was sometime around maybe 2007, we started doing annual strategic plans, which again just helped accelerate our growth and give us good structure and really help us fulfill our vision.
Well, I think that's a really interesting story. And the people that I've talked to, it's amazing when you have them reflect back on what some of the moments or experiences were that had the biggest impact in their career. It's not the things, it's the experiences and the relationships that they've developed that really are important. And you might want to expand a little bit on some of those moments you've had.
Sure. Well, that first one, just the Welsh grid, and we still have that in our firm today. And that actually I dug in a little bit more with that gentleman, and he had created for his business and other businesses the 5 cultural learning points, things that they had put in their business that were going to be key cornerstones to their business. So we actually ran with the 5 cultural learning points. We built our own at that time, ran with those 5 cultural learning points. We still have them today. We've actually made them 7 now. We've added 2 more things that we've learned along the way to make that very important. Again, then coming to Boomer, getting the knowledge of the industry knowledge, and then other external knowledge that you bring. And then from there, also getting involved with Coach, which gave us a good view of businesses outside of the CPA industry. If we just continue to learn from other CPAs, we're only going to learn what we know. So that's been very beneficial to listen to other businesses, see what they're doing to be successful, and then applying those things to the CPA firm industry has really, again, benefited us and allowed us to do the things that we've been able to do. We're just now finishing up our 25th year, so it's been really good process and been a fun journey.
Well, you mentioned a couple of things there, the iterations, and I think people fail to realize that it's the iterations that build the knowledge. It's not necessarily starting over or changing. It's the continuous improvement process. And I know you have been through a lot of that in your firm.
Right. Yeah. We've made some good decisions. We made some bad decisions along the way, but, right, if you just continue to learn and grow and take a mindset of a learning and growing mindset to everything, then, right, everything's a learning scenario. So those bad decisions, we got to learn how to work a little harder and dig our way out of them, but it's been good.
Well, I know you well enough that knowing some of your attributes on ownership, one of the things there is not win lose, it's win learn. And
Right.
I think you've demonstrated that yes, we're willing to recognize we all make mistakes, but if we learn from those mistakes, we can leverage those into our next project or our next event. So I think that's great. Would you tell me a little bit, or our audience a little bit, about your strategic planning and visioning processes, to whom you include in that process today, and kind of how that may have transformed over the years?
Sure. Yeah, we've always kind of included, this group has grown some over the years, but we've all what we call our Monday morning meeting group. It's anybody who has significant supervision responsibilities within the firm. So we started out, probably the first one, we might have had 5 people in the strategic planning. Not all partners, obviously. They're people that are key people within our firm and have major staff or people responsibilities. We have them in there, and again, it probably started out with 5. I think this year we had like 13 potentially in that group. So we include them because we need everybody's knowledge and everybody's input. There's a lot of different. Everybody has different experiences, so the knowledge that they bring from those to our management team or to the strategic planning process is invaluable. We can learn a lot of things from our other people, and a lot of them are non-CPAs.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. The percentage of professionals that you have in the room that are not CPAs, it's pretty high.
Yeah, it's probably 50%. I would have to stop and actually look at that, but it's probably 50% are non-CPAs. We have our Chief Excellence Officer, we have our CIO, we have our project manager, we have our Supervisor of Excellence in there. We have the head of the transportation division. So, it may be more than 50% that aren't CPAs.
Well, many of them are in positions that oftentimes firms, I feel, make a mistake in that they may try to put a CPA in a role that they really don't want to be in, but it's more administrative or operational, and that can cause frustration. And it's all part of the team building and the players playing their positions.
Right. And we've developed what we call our Department of Excellence, where we have hired people with skills other than a normal traditional CPA. Most of these are not CPAs, but their job is there to work on the professionals of the firm, right? The professionals in the firm are working on tax projects, audit projects, accounting projects, whatever we're doing there. But this group is there to, right? So it's a group of professionals to work on our professionals. And they do a great job. And again, they have just different knowledge, skills, and training. And I'm always amazed when we sit back and get talking about something or we got some new idea, what they pull out that we would have never thought about.
Well, you've always been a big proponent of learning and training, and particularly in the soft skills. Not that the technical skills, that's kind of just the table stakes of being in a CPA firm, but
Right.
you've been a big proponent of the soft skills and the team building skills. And you might speak a little bit to that.
Yeah, we hired our first training and learning coordinator when we had 13 people in the firm. So were committed to the process. They were full time. Now we had them doing some other stuff along with it, but their main function was training and learning. And because we are, in any organization, but for surely within CPA firms, we're only going to get better if our people get better. So if we're not investing in our people to get better and to learn things that are either maybe more difficult for CPAs, but for sure, even just the hard skill, the technical skills that we're probably pretty good at, if we're not getting better with those as a firm, we're not moving forward. So we made that investment early on, and again, it's paid off, and the growth that we've seen within our people is tremendous. And again, finding these people who are highly skilled in this, and they've learned and they've known things, they've been taught about things that we don't have any idea about, despite the fact we're CPAs.
Yeah, I can understand that. And before we get into some of the talent and technology issues, let's talk a little bit more about how often you update your strategic plan and how you continue to monitor that and hold people accountable.
Yeah. So we do an annual retreat. We update our strategic plan every year. We update our vision, our long-term vision, every 5 years. And of course, we're always looking at that really within the strategic plan too. If we had something in there next year that we wanted to change, even though we got it set out for 5 years, we'd change it. But so we're looking at it every year, and because we use a balanced scorecard approach, and we build a balanced scorecard for our strategic plan, and we always complete every item on our strategic plan because we set out with that's our mindset, and that's what we do, and we hold each other accountable through the process. And again, we put it on the balanced scorecard where people are paid to complete these projects specifically, so we get them done.
Well, you might speak a little bit to the 4 categories in the balanced scorecard and how you've developed that over the years, because I think you've done as good a job, if not the best job, of any firm out there of developing and following through, because it takes a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work at times, and at other times it really makes your work easier. It's back to that planning, right? If you spend our time planning, the execution is a whole lot easier than if we've got to bob and weave as we're executing. So the four sections on the balanced scorecard are client satisfaction, internal processes, training and learning, and financial. Now, and I always list them in that order. I didn't when I first got it, and I did the same thing myself, is that everybody wants that financial to be first. And can we weight more to financial than we do these others? Well, if you do that, then you need to say, I've got an unbalanced scorecard, because it won't be balanced anymore. But so we got we got to keep them balanced because they're long term. Some of those are long terms and some of those are short terms. And without that balance in the firm, we're not going to be built to last, from the organizational standpoint. So, so we break down everything into those categories, and most everything fits, or you can obviously use editorial privileges and make one fit somewhere if you need to. But
right. In other words, you're based on the needs of the firm, not on the needs of an individual, but you're tailoring it for the individual.
right,
And that's what makes it work, I believe.
yeah, it is the main document. Using the balanced scorecard, I would say, is the main document that has allowed us to differentiate ourselves, set those differences, allowed us to do what we do and do best. As you know, I mean, just it's allowed us to leverage like we are. We're 1 to 60, one partner to 60 staff, and without the balanced scorecard, we couldn't get there.
Well, and that's going to take me to our next topic. But before I get there, I want to ask you, whose responsibility is the balanced scorecard?
Well, it starts with the HR person. It's really, our chief experience officer. It's really her responsibility overall, but it's also mine. But we were talking about a little bit earlier there, just about that work and effort that goes into it. We spend the month of May working on balanced scorecards. We obviously don't shut down the whole firm. We're doing work, but everybody's working on theirs. The supervisor then reviews theirs, HR then reviews it, and then I see them in the end. And so the month of May, we spend a lot of time, which in the middle of that, I'm always like going, wow, why am I doing this? But once they get rolled out the 1st of June, because we do them on a June to May cycle, we're done. We don't need to plan anymore. Staff doesn't really need to come and ask us what to do. They've got their balanced scorecard. They know what to do for the next year. So they don't have to come and say, hey, I'm out of projects. What do I do? It's go work on the next thing on your balanced scorecard. It's already done. So that's where at times it seems like a lot of work, but I think throughout the year, it's actually less work.
Well, and the important thing is that you set expectations up front rather than trying to move the carrot throughout the year. Not that you can't move the carrot, but you certainly have agreement up front.
Yeah.
I know we're going to run out of time here, Bill, but I want to ask you about some other issues that other firms are dealing with. And I know you're dealing with them as well, but I think it's a little bit unusual in your ability to attract talent. You mentioned at one time you had 13 employees, then you had 13 people in the strategic planning session, and now you're going to expand that to the entire firm in another session. But you might talk about the talent and the technology challenges that are out there today.
Yeah, so it's been kind of interesting. We kind of battled a little bit with talent for a while, but now we're not seeing that problem right now. And I hate to say that out loud, but we hired 23 people and started in January. That was our onboarding class, and that's a large group for us. But now we've got 4 more starting May 1st. We got 4 more starting June 1st. It's we've been able to, I guess, tackle that a little bit. We have great people that are in the recruiting department, in the HR department. But I think part of it was changing just the mindset of getting away from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset. There are still a lot of good people in America that want to work and that need a job or whatever. And there's a lot of people within this profession. So attacking it differently, I think, has really helped us go, we can find these people. We just got to go find them. And I think when they walk into our office or start working with us, they see that mindset difference and they're like going, wait a minute, these guys aren't running scared. No, we're going to run into the wind, I think, is what we're going to do. So,
well, and I think our audience certainly sharp enough to calculate if you were able to hire 20 some people in January and onboard them, you must be growing rather rapidly in order to assimilate that, or you have a high turnover. Yeah. And I don't believe your turnover's been that great, has it?
No, our turnover's been probably around the industry average, I would say, because we're also aggressive with not keeping them. If they're not a good fit, doesn't mean they're bad people, just they're not a good fit for our firm, then we don't keep them. So we probably have a little bit higher turnover rate than what we would normally have if we weren't so aggressive on moving people out, or we like to refer it as freeing up their future. They're free to go work anywhere else they would like. But so yeah, no, we'll grow. We've consistently grown 20% a year. Last year, I think the new business development growth, which will show up this year, I think we're going to be close to 30%. So again, it's been good process. We're in a great market. There's lots of opportunity. Again, I think it's just, we look at the world with an abundance mindset and go, let's go do this.
That's so refreshing, because mindset is more important in today's environment than even skill set and tool set. Not that they aren't all important, but probably the largest challenge for most in our profession are around mindset. Well, as I told you, Bill, before we got started, we'd run out of time before we really got real deep into this. But what one tip could you leave with our audience today that you think would really help move them forward? And how might they get a hold of you if someone wants to contact you?
Sure. Well, just before I forget that, you can reach me. It's Bill at Abacus.CPA, ABACUS.CPA, or our phone number is 417-823-7171. But the biggest thing I would say is just move. Just make a decision and go do it. Most decisions, there's not a right or wrong decision. It's just, am I going to work hard enough to make my decision right? So make a decision, get it enacted, and go do it. And you'll be amazed.
That's so profound. That's so profound, because good things happen when you're in motion. Bad things happen when you're procrastinating. Right.
It's a law of physics, right? There's things that are in motion tend to stay in motion.
That's absolutely true.
Are hard, right?
Well, thanks so much, Bill. And to our audience, thank you for tuning in. And we ask you to tune in to another episode of the Boomer Briefing, and you can find out more about that schedule and the services of Boomer Consulting at boomer.com. And until next time, think, plan, and grow. Thank you.
Thank you.